Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 783, we're going to talk about the tiniest of bones, Tinybones Trinket Thief. This was donated by Chris M. Y'all saw that video just a couple days ago. Thank you very much, Chris. And like I said, I had most of the deck done before I had the commander. But here's what we got. 2 mana, we get a 1/2 Skeleton Rogue. I guess that makes, what, our second or third legendary skeleton? Anyway, I've already done Tribal Skeleton, so. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life. That's pretty good. But for 6 mana, each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. That's kind of big game right there. 6 mana is not that hard to come up with, especially late game. It's going to be late game if, people don't have hands. So, the very first thing is it's a discard deck. It is hard to do anything but, I will probably play this one time because I'm pretty sure this will cause you to lose friends. So, with that being said, here is the category of discard, and we'll get to the discard payoffs afterwards. We have Duress, Inquisition of Kozilek. Curious, do y'all say Kozilek or Kozilek? I find myself using both, just interchangeable. Mind Peel is one that not a lot of people use, but I like it simply because it does have buyback in the late game. You can just keep buying it back. Smallpox. Granted, we have to have another creature out besides Tiny at the time, but it's good. Wrench Mind. Hymn to Turok. Now, Bereavement is kind of a hoser, obviously for green. Whenever a green creature is put in a graveyard, we're going to probably be doing a lot of that. So, Una's Blackguard. Let's not forget, Tinybones is a rogue. So, and that last line there, with a 1/1 counter, deals combat damage to a player. That player discards a card. So, getting aggro with the with the tiny skeleton. Now, Cunning Lethomancer, sure. Scythe Spectre, of course, the only one I had was non-English. But each opponent discards, and whoever discards the highest converted mana cost card loses life equal to that mana cost. So that is pretty huge. Warp Devotion, I know it is very conditional. I don't have, a means to return a bunch of things to people's hands because this is black. But there are a lot of decks that just do that. So it may be a slot. I probably can find something better to go in here. But, it's Warp Devotion. Words of Waste. Now, this is the next time you would draw a card this turn, each opponent discards a card. Each opponent. That's what makes this card beautiful. And this was at a time where they weren't designing for Commander. It didn't exist. 2002, it may have existed. Dark Deal. Kind of a wheel, -1. But it does count them as discarding, and it does reduce their hand size by 1. Have that Bottomless Pit. I just realized, Unnerve says each opponent. In my mind, this was a worse Hymn to Turok. I was like, why would we pay double for Hymn to Turok? But it says each opponent, and that earned us a lot in the deck. Liliana's Reaver. Now, Banshee of the Dread Choir, I kind of like, deals combat damage, but it's got Myriad, so. Siphon Mind, great card draw / discard. And then just good old-fashioned Persecute for that one player who was bold enough to sit down with single color. Which will probably be me. But now let's look at our discard payoffs. So, I mean, we've got the Megrim, Raider's Wake, and Liliana's Caress. But we've also got Nixithin. I mean, it's not a every time they discard thing, but it is a payoff for somebody having no cards in hand. So, and then we've got Turgid. She is insanely powerful in any kind of sacrifice and or discard deck, and with so many discarding things, it was hard not to put her in. So let's look at our ramp, shall we, before we get to the weird stuff. So we have Wayfarer's Bauble, Dark Ritual, Charcoal Diamond, Star Compass, Leaded Mirror, Ornithopter of Paradise, Cabal Ritual, Spectral Searchlight, Burnished Heart. If you'll notice how many of these sacrifice, Magus of the Coffers. I mean, we are playing mono black, and our good friend Chris, who I'm sure is watching right now, donated the Bolus of Citadel, which I consider ramp because you can, you're paying life, but it's like ramp and it's like card draw all at the same time. You just get to play more cards than you would normally have access to for life. So a little bit of card draw, not a lot here because in theory our commander's gonna, we have Sign and Blood, Knight's Whisper, Read the Bones. I like big old Baleful Force, just 7/7, I am coming at you. And then Dregs of Sorrow. With enough mana, that thing is ridiculous. But let's look at our weird stuff, right? Because we do have some life payment things in there, like a lot of it. Paying life to drawing cards. So, Drain Life, Corrupt, Gray Merchant, all in there for just straight life gain. But then, we don't want anything to happen to our tiny guy. So Swiftfoot Boots, and then Cloak and Dagger, because it auto-equips, But now, Bone Horde, for any creature that we have, just simply because, wow, it counts the number of creatures in all graveyards, and if we're making people discard, at some point in time, they're going to be discarding creatures, right? I do have the duo of Fate, Unraveler, and Underworld Dreams. The problem with discard is that once you get, in most discard decks, the problem with most discard decks is once you get everyone, or your targets, to a 0 cards in hand, then most of the cards in your deck are dead. But with Tinybones, that kind of takes that out of the equation, because once you get them, you just dump your mana into Tinybones and start making them lose 10. But what a lot of discard decks do is run Howling Mount or card draw effects. So the Underworld Dreams, the cards hurt coming and a going. And then Suppress. Now, I know Suppress is not discard, but it does blank a player's hand for the turn. Well, for the turn cycle. So, I don't know. Here again, this may be another slot. Maybe an opportunity for me to put something else in. But let's look at our removal. We have Terror, Cruel Edict, Feed the Swarm, because that's kind of what we got in mono black, right? Cast Down, Mire and Misery. I don't play this a lot, but I kind of like it because it's a sacrifice thing, and we do have Turgid. Eliminate, Doomblade, Murder, Tendrils of Corruption. There again, more removal and life gain. And then our big ones, though. Mutilate, Hex. I like Hex. Hex has just gotten better over the years. And then Black Sun Zenith. For all them indestructible things, because Stuffy Dolls and Brash Taunters are aplenty nowadays. So, we have, let's look here at our non-basic lands, y'all are gonna be floored. We have Bojuka Bog, because I don't know, the Bojuka Bog is kind of a panic button, if you will, just simply because, you know, a lot of our cards rely on people having a graveyard, but there are a lot of decks that can abuse that, so that's what the Bojuka Bog is for, is to, you know, the Myriad Landscape, 1 land drop becomes 2. The Ghost Quarter and the Field of Ruin to get rid of those pesky lands. Barren Moor and Polluted Mire, cycle lands. Temple of the False God. We're in monocolor. I don't really use this in that much in 2 or more, but monocolor, I feel like it is a decent slot. Crypt of Agadine. It can get there, maybe, you know. And then lastly, we have Cabal Stronghold. That's right. There was a land that was not present that I normally use. Probably because our commander is a 1/2. But that is it for Tinybones. Really excited to play it. Like I said, I may only play it one time because people don't like hand destruction or land destruction. So, let's go over here and put Tiny over on the wall. Still in my Batman jammies. 783 is done. That is it for today. I do appreciate y'all watching. Got a lot of... We're closing out. Getting real close to being done with the D&D set. We've got just a few left. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left? One of those I'm kind of saving. You can probably figure out who it is and where it's going to be and what I'm saving it for. But yeah, that's what I've got for right now. I do appreciate y'all watching, liking, subscribing, doing everything social that tells people we exist. Love that show. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and shuffle and cut.